Hello, everybody. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese to high schoolers out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. I am thinking my way through the Harvard Project Zero thinking routines, and I would love some help with this. I can be reached at studio-nemo.com or ping me on the Minecraft Education Ambassadors or the Duolingo Educators Network. So we're still in introducing and exploring ideas, and now we're down to imagine if. So we skipped a couple that were already talked about before. Again, here's the link. I'll put it in the description, but it's pz.harvard.edu/thinking-routines. Imagine if also occurs in investigating objects and systems. So when we get here, I won't talk about it again. Finding opportunity is their subtitle. This one is super hard for me to keep my students in the target language. They just don't have enough vocabulary. They need lots and lots of sentence frames and a living word bank. So maybe it's a good one to save for when you have a substitute, or I like to do it on days when if AP testing is going on, my students are little balls of stress and they just are dead to me when they walk in the door. They cannot do anything. They won't do anything. So this is a fun little kind of break from the routine. I like to provide my students with colored pencils and markers and sometimes clay. That does get everywhere, but it's still fun. Maybe a computer drawing program. If you're teaching grammar explicitly, you've got some pop-up grammar, grammar translation, audio-lingual method while looking at transformation drills, community language learning. You're dissecting a script your class wrote straight out of your textbook. Maybe you're working. I give the students a rudimentary sentence, maybe an ungrammatical one. And then not only do they have to make the sentence better, they have to do all that metacognition stuff, that wonderful metacognition stuff. They have to tell me why the sentence is more effective this way, why or how the idea is conveyed more efficiently. And I strike the ethical part of this routine. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I don't like talking about ethics from the lens of, I don't want the students to be judging which of the three languages I'm teaching, okay? So we don't even talk about that. How they made their sentence more beautiful. And they could do that part in English because that's too much of a heavy lifting in the target language. When I'm teaching history, culture, literature, art, music, food. I really should change that slide to include that. You could try this with an invention particular to your target culture. I really, again, before I start telling you what I've been doing this with, I shy away from the inherent judgment involved in the questions in this thinking routine, especially like ethical and beautiful judgments, okay? But my Japanese students really take to it well. Like I said, AP testing has really burned them out, and they don't want to be working in my class anyway. So now's a good time to have a nice, fun conversation. So generally, we talk about the toilet, of course, and there's so much to talk about with the Japanese toilet. Let me look at all these. This one we'll talk about in a moment. Remember this picture, okay? All right, so first of all, I tell a funny story about one of my college professors. She was one of the initial wave of foreign exchange students to Japan right after World War II. And she told me about her first experience fresh off the plane, desperately trying to figure out how to use the Japanese toilet because she hadn't gone in a while, right? And so I add to that my own story, my own anecdotes, because like the picture I just showed you a second ago was the Shinkansen. It's different nowadays than when I was riding the Shinkansen in the late 80s. In the late 80s, when you went to the bathroom on the Shinkansen, you could see, that's the bullet train, you could see the train tracks. Oh my God, I'm a linguist, I have to make the pun. You could see the train tracks whizzing underneath you. It's terrifying. It is truly terrifying. But then I show the students an advertisement. This is all in English, okay? This is an American company. I have to show them Squatty Potty. This is the funniest advertisement ever, okay? And then I show them a clip from The Simpsons, all right, where they go to Japan, and we discuss why the Japanese toilet is the way it is, okay? For one thing, there's no central heating in Japan, so the toilets are awfully cold in the wintertime unless there's a little heater on it, okay? I can't tell you how freaked out I was when I first went into a bathroom and there was a cord coming out of the toilet, and I was like, "That you can't have an electric cord next to water," but heated toilets are absolutely wonderful. So we talk about how Japan has taken this American invention, or Yeah, John Crapper was American, right? How Japan has changed it, how they've improved upon it. Once I'm a linguist, more puns, right? And puns are so important to the Japanese culture. They show that you're smart. They love puns in Japan. They will give you a standing ovation for making a pun. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Once we're pooped out of talking about toilets, I give them something innocuous, maybe a spatula, maybe my guitar case, maybe a pencil sharpener. And I ask the students, okay, how would you Japanify this? And I have them go through the thinking routine from the viewpoint of the Japanese culture. Okay. If nothing else, what this does is it gives me a glimpse as to where their blinders are, a glimpse as to where their biases are. And it's just fun anyway. We spend maybe 15 minutes focusing on one of the categories. So like for efficient, we'll talk about Toyota's management style in the 1980s, or we'll talk about the trains in France or Nihon. I like to talk about trains. They're kind of fun. And then the ethical part, I really shy away from it. It's really difficult. We don't want our students judging our target culture, right? So when I do the ethical section, I try to bring it up in historical context. Okay, so one of my heroes he was young at the time. He was 14 years old and he was a shipwreck survivor. Okay, he went out fishing in the ocean. He was like, his father had died, so he was the breadwinner. This is Manjiro. He got a job with a few more people. They're out on a boat fishing and there was a storm, blew them off course. They shipwrecked on this tiny little island and they were there for 6 months trying to catch the birds and eating the crabs and stuff until another boat passed by and it turned out to be an American boat. But he's my hero because he was basically the first foreign exchange student from Japan to America. And his story is pretty incredible. So when we're comparing ethics across culture, I talk about how absolutely aghast he was. There's a boat passing by and they wave for help and the boat picks him up and it's a whaling ship. It's an American whaling ship from Boston. And so he is absolutely aghast watching all the Americans throwing all the whale meat overboard, throwing away all this good food. And all they keep is the dumb blubber. And he can't figure out what they're keeping blubber for because, of course, blubber was what they melted down for the lanterns in America at the time. He had no idea what blubber was for, but boy, oh boy, was he blubbering seeing all that food thrown away. Oh my gosh, I have so many puns in this one. This is great. In our next episode, lenses. Hope to see you there.